Jaya Radha Madhava Jaya Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Jaya Kunja Bihari Jaya Gopi Janvalabha Jaya Girivaradari Jaya Kunja Bihari Jaya Gopi Janvalabha Jaya Girivaradari Jaya Kunja Bihari Yashodanandana Braja Janaranjana Yashodanandana Braja Janaranjana Yamuna Tire Vanachari Yamuna Tire Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Jaya Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Jaya Kunja Bihari Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Jaya Gauranitai, 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 Jaya Gauranitai. Jaya Jagannathai, Jagannathai, Baladeva, Jaya Subhadra. Jaya Radha Vallabha, Radha Vallabha Shri Radhe. Prabhupada, 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 Jai Prabhupada. Jaya Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Prabhupada. निताय गौर प्रेमानंद श्रील प्रभुपाद की जय। ग्रंथराज श्रीमद् भागवतम की जय। ओम नमो भागवते वासुदेवाय। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। नारायणं नमस्कृत्यं नरं चैव नरोत्तमं देवीं सरस्वतीं व्यासं ततो जयमुदीरये। नास्तप्रेषु अभद्रेषु नित्यं भागवत सेवया। भगवते उत्तमश्लोके भक्तिर्भवति नैष्ठिकी। So we are reading from Śrīmad Bhāgavatam, Canto 5, Chapter 21, The Movements of the Sun, verse 4. There are a few verses that we'll be doing today, so we'll just go through word-to-word meaning. Yada, when, Mesha Tulayo, in Mesha, Aries, and Tula, Libra, Vartate, the sun exists. Tada, at that time, Aharatrani, the days and nights, Samanani, equal in duration, Bhavanti, are, Yada, when, Vrishabhadishu, headed by Vrishabha, Taurus, and Mithuna, Gemini. Panchasu, in the five. Cha, also. Rasishu, signs. Charati, moves. Tadha, at that time. Ahani, the days. Eva, certainly. Vardhante, increase. Harshati, is diminished. Cha, and Masi Masi, in every month. Ekaha, one. Gatikaha, half hour. Ratrishu, in the nights. Translation. When the sun passes through Mesha, Aries, and Tula, Libra, the durations of day and night are equal. When it passes through the five signs headed by Rishabha, Taurus, the duration of the days increase until Cancer, and then it gradually decreases by half an hour each month, until day and night again becomes equal in Libra. Verse 5. Yada, when. Vrichika Adishu, headed by Vrichika. Scorpio. Panchasu, five. Vartate, remains. Tadha, at that time. Aharatrani, the days and nights. Viprayani, the opposite. The duration of the day decreases and the night increases. Bhavanti, are. Translation. When the sun passes through the five signs beginning with Vrichika, Scorpio, the duration of the days decrease until Capricorn, and then gradually it increases month after month until day and night become equal in Aries. (521.6) Yavat, until. Dakshinayanam, the sun passes to the southern side. Ahani, the days. Vardhante, increase. Yavat, until. Udgayanam, the sun passes to the northern side. Ratrahya, the nights. Until the sun travels to the south, the days grow longer, and until it travels to the north, the nights grow longer. So this is speaking about the Uttarayan and Dakshinayan. So when Uttarayan comes, the sun travels towards north, and then Dakshinayan, the sun travels towards south, where the winters, so nights are longer, and during Uttarayan, the days are longer. 521.7 Evam, thus. Nava, 9. Kotaya, 10 millions. Ekapanchasat, 51. Lakshani, 100,000s. Yojanam, Yojananam, of the Yojanas. Mansotrahagiri, of the mountains known as Manasotra. Parivartanasya, of the circumambulation. Upadhisanti, they, learned scholars, teach. Tashmin, of that. Mansottara mountain. Aindrim, of King Indra. Purim, the city. Purvashmahat, of the eastern side. Meru, of Sumeru mountain. Devadhanim, Devadhani, Nama, of the name. Dakshinatat, on the southern side. Yam Yam, of Yamraj. Samyahamanim, Samyamani, Nama, named. Paschat, on the western side. Varunim, of Varuna, Nimlochani, Nama, named, Uttarata, on the northern side, Saumyam, of the moon, Vibhavari, Nama, named, Tashahu, in all of them, Udaya, rising, Madhyahana, midday, Astamaya, sunset, Nishitahani, midnight, Itihi, thus, Bhutanam, of the living entities, Pravritti, of activity, Nivritti, and cessation of activity, Nimittani, the causes, Samya Visheshena, by the particular times, Meruho, of Sumeru mountain, Chaturdesham, the four sides. Translation. Sukdev Goswami continued, My dear king, as stated before, the learned say that the sun travels over all sides of Mansotra mountain in a circle whose length is 95,100,000 yojanas, 760,800,000 miles. On Manasotra mountain, due east of Mount Sumeru, is a place known as Devadhani, possessed by King Indra. Similarly, in the south is the place known as Samyamani, possessed by Yamaraj. In the west is the place known as Nimlochani, possessed by Varuna. And in the north is the place named Vibhavari, possessed by the moon god. Sunrise, midday, sunset, and midnight occur in all those places according to specific times, thus engaging all living entities in their various occupational duties and also making them cease such duties. Couple of more verses. Tatratyahanam, for the living entities residing on Mount Meru. Divasaha Madhyangatha, being positioned as at midday. Evaha, indeed. Sada, always. Adityaha, the sun. Tapati, heats. Savyena, to the left side. Achalam, Sumeru mountain. Dakshinena, to the right, being forced by wind blowing to the right. The sun moves to the right. Karhoti, moves. Yatra, the point where. Udeti, it rises. Tasya, of that position. Ha, certainly. Samhana Sutra Nipate, at the diametrically opposite point. Nimlochati, the sun sets. Yatraha, where. Kvachana, somewhere. Shandena, with perspiration. Abhitapati, heats, at midday. Tasyaha, of that. Ha, certainly. Esaha, this the sun. Samana Sutra Nipate, at the diametrically opposite point. Prasvapayati, the sun causes to sleep, as at midnight. Tatraha, there. Gatam, gone. Napashyanti, do not see. Ye, who. Tam, the sunset. Samanupashyeram, seeing. Translation. The living entities residing on Sumeru mountain are always very warm, as at midday, because for them the sun is always overhead. Although the sun moves counterclockwise, facing the constellations with Sumeru mountain on its left, it always moves clockwise and appears to have the mountain on its right, because it is influenced by the Dakshinavrata wind. People living in countries at points diametrically opposite to where the sun is first seen rising, will see the sun setting. And if the straight line were drawn from the point where the sun is at midday, the people in countries at the opposite end of the line would be experiencing midnight. Similarly, if people residing where the sun is setting were to go to countries diametrically opposite, they would not see the sun in the same condition. So here the movement of the sun is explained in how Mount Sumeru is always experiencing the sunlight. Whereas the people, it is mentioned especially on the earthly planet, they see opposite ends, or Bharatvarsha, it is mentioned, they will see opposite sides, midday and midnight. And this is one of the reasons why Maharaj Priyavrata took up his chariot to lighten up the other side of the Varsha, so that for 180 days, 6 months, he traveled throughout the Varsha on the opposite side of the sun, so that both the sides experience day throughout the 6 months. So this is the powerful, and as we will hear here a lot of descriptions of the speed of the sun, distance of the sun, the diameter of the sun, orbit of the sun. So these are millions of yojanas or millions of miles. So what we are hearing is something which is not been with our manual apparatus. It is not to be measured, even though scientists have measured a lot of things and have come to the conclusion. But recently I was reading this article where the most powerful telescope which we have, Hubble telescope, which is in space, it has broken since last few months. It is not operational, so they had to send some other satellite or some equipment to fix it, but it's still not operating properly. So they have now designed a new telescope which they are saying is like 1,000 times more powerful than Hubble, and they will be able to see in the past, even before the creation, what had happened. For that they have spent already $20 billion US dollars. And so that kind of money they have spent just to discover something which we already know from Śrīmad Bhāgavatam. Anyways, last verse where Srila Prabhupada writes a purport. So we'll take that verse. 5:21:10. Yada, when, cha, and Aindriha of Indra, Puryaha from the residence, Prachalataye, it moves, Panchadasha by 15, Gatikabhi, half hours, actually 24 minutes, Yam of the residence of Yamraj, Sapadakoti Dvayam, 2.25 crores, 22,500,000. Yojananam of yojanas, Sardha and 1/2, Dvadasha Lakshani, 1,200,000, Sadhikani, 25,000 more, Chaha and Upayati, he passes over. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. When the sun travels from Devadhani, the residence of Indra, to Samyamani, the residence of Yamraj, it travels 23,775,000 yojanas, 190,200,000 miles in 15 gatikas, 6 hours. Purport. The distance indicated by the word Sadhikani is Pancha Vimsati Sahasradhikani, or 25,000 yojanas. That plus 2.5 crores and 12.5 lakhs of yojanas is the distance the sun travels between each two cities. This comes to 23,775,000 yojanas, or 190,200,000 miles. The total orbit of the sun is 4 times that distance, or 95,100,000 yojanas or 760,800,000 miles. Om Agnanatimirandasya Jnananjana Salakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tashmai Shri Gurave Namah Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swaham Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sahagrajatam Sagana Ragunatam Vitam Tam Sajivam Sahadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padam Sagana Lalita Shri Vishakanvitam Scha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dina Bandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namastute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Rishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vanchakalpatro Vesha Kripa Sindhu Vevasha Patitanam Pavanepyo Vaishnavepyo Namo Namah Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna. So after studying these descriptions and calculations of different dimensions of the planetary positions, movements of the sun, there are two things we can understand. Sometimes, like many people ask this question: what is the necessity for hearing about this material manifestation? Why is it put it into Bhagavatam, Śrīmad Bhāgavatam, which is Amala Puranam, which is supposed to bring us to the topmost platform? What is the necessary to understand these dimensions of the material universe and universal position? And the conclusion to this is, or the answer to this is, we will try to discuss different aspects during today's presentation or in this class today. But one thing what I came up with, and especially we hear Sukadeva Goswami, we hear Maitreya Muni, we hear Lord Brahma himself, who is the secondary creator of everything. They themselves mention that it is not possible for us to understand what is going on in this material universe, what to speak of understanding the spiritual pastimes of the Lord. So we are not capable of understanding all this intimate pastimes of the Lord. So for our benefit, this has been included into this pastimes of Śrīmad Bhāgavatam, so that we can understand the magnanimous nature or the vastness of Lord's personality, and how infinitesimally small we are. So by understanding this process, we can understand whatever we are doing, whatever we are creating is very insignificant. So that gives us little bit of that brings little bit of humility in our self. So that is why it is necessary to understand. So let's take a chain. Why in 5th canto we have been hearing these planetary positions and things. It starts from 2nd canto actually, where the process of creation, the 4th chapter is named, the process of creation is explained, where Parikshit Maharaj asked Sukadeva Goswami first time these questions, that tell me, how does Supreme Personality of Godhead, how does Supreme Personality of Godhead create, maintain and destroy this universe? So what is necessary? How does he create, maintain and destroy this universe? How does he enact the primary and secondary creation? Tell me about the Lord's wonderful activities and how they are inconceivable. And how does he expand himself into different forms? Now we understand Parikshit Maharaj had 7 days to live. He was been cursed and he had 7 days to live. But still he is asking about the creation part of the universe. He could have easily, and in that purports and in those verses it is mentioned, Parikshit Maharaj could have, he was a pure devotee, he could have easily asked Sukadeva Goswami to just speak about Krishna's chitta potency or internal pastimes and perfected his life and gone back home, back to Godhead. But still, Parikshit Maharaj asked about the Maya Shakti of the Lord. How does the Maya Shakti of the Lord work? And then gradually he asked about the Chit potency. So this was the first point we have to understand. Even though Parikshit Maharaj had only 7 days, he inquired about the external energy of the Lord, not directly to hear about the internal pastimes of the Lord, even though he was fully qualified to hear them. So in that, it is mentioned that by hearing the Lord's external pastimes, one becomes detached from this material world. And that is why Srila Prabhupada at the end of 2nd canto warns us to not jump to 3rd canto or 10th canto directly, or 4th canto directly. One has to go through first 2 cantos, and if one is not purified enough, he should repeat the first 2 cantos. Of course, we still go through, but the point is, we have to hear Śrīmad Bhāgavatam categorically or systematically. We should not jump to the higher cantos without hearing the first 2 cantos, which form the basis actually for the entire Śrīmad Bhāgavatam. So again, in the previous chapter, in the 3rd chapter, Saunaka Rishi asked, and I have taken this verse because it speaks about the sun. So in that, Saunaka Rishi encourages Suta Goswami to speak, and he mentions that Ayur Harati Vaipumsam Udyanastam Chaya Nasu Tashyartha Yat Shanonita Uttama Sloka Vartaya. So that both by rising and setting of the sun, it reduces the duration of life of each and every living entity, except for those who hear the topics of the Uttama Sloka, of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So now, just to understand what are the topics of the Lord, we need to understand that anything that is in relationship with the Lord, a pure devotee sees each and every verse of Śrīmad Bhāgavatam in relationship to the Lord. None of the verses or words even of Śrīmad Bhāgavatam are separate from Lord. So a pure devotee, when he reads Śrīmad Bhāgavatam, he sees as if he is hearing anything which is in relationship to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And this again coming to the next chapter, which is of 2nd canto, 5th chapter, the cause of all causes. There is a narration between Narada Muni and Lord Brahma. So Narada Muni inquires from Lord Brahma that I see you meditating on someone, but you are the creator. Who is this personality whom we are meditating? So he is expressing this doubt, and he asks six questions. And now again, these 6 questions are very similar to what Parikshit Maharaj has already asked Sukadeva Goswami. So he's asking 6 questions, which is, he's saying, Yad Rupam. So what is this universe? So he's asking about the material creation. Narad Muni is asking Lord Brahma about material creation. Yad Rupam, what is this universe? He's saying, Yad Adhishthanam. So what is the shelter of this universe? What is Yad Shrishtam? How is this universe created? He's saying, Yad Samsthanam. How is it maintained? Then he's asking, Yad Parama. What is it dependent on? And he's saying, Yad Cha. So what is the ingredient? What is this universe made out of? What are the components of this universe? So Narad Muni is asking the 6 questions to Lord Brahma and saying, please explain to me who is the cause of all causes. The name of that chapter is Cause of All Causes. Even though I see you as the creator, but you are also meditating on someone. And to reply, Narad Muni, Lord Brahma is mentioning these 2 verses. He's saying, unless one is aware of the potency or the position of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, he will be illusioned. He will be illusioned by observing my powerful activities. So he's saying, this Supreme Personality of Godhead is beyond me. So I am only the recreator. I'm just creating that has already been created, just like the sun is revealing what is already been revealed by the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So Lord Brahma is mentioning this to Narad Muni and saying that this Yad Rupam, this universe, is nothing else but the body of the Lord Himself. He's saying that there are 5 components which this universe is made out of: Dravya, Kala, Karma, Jiva and Swabhava. So this universe is made out of these 5 components, and these 5 components are nothing but the body of Lord Himself. So this universe is not different than Lord Himself. And this is another reason why we should be hearing about this pastime, because this pastimes that we are hearing about the potency of the Lord is non-different than Lord Himself. And he mentions Adhishtanam, who is the shelter. Lord Narayan is the shelter, and he is explaining how this, and Yacha, where he is mentioning that the components or ingredients of this universe is nothing but the different parts, different limbs of Garbhodakshaya Vishnu, which will be explained again in the 3rd canto in more detail. But this is what Lord Brahma is replying and saying. Finally, Lord Brahma tells Narad Muni that even the Lord Himself is not able to understand, estimate His own limits, what to speak of anyone else. And he's saying that I, Lord Shiva, and you, Narada, you cannot ascertain the limits of spiritual happiness. Then what to speak of other demigods? So it is not possible for even the Lord to understand His own potencies, which is ever growing. And he mentions this one point which is very important, where he's saying that bewildered by Maya, we can only see the manifestation of this cosmos according to our own individual ability. So depending on the nature we are in, we will only be able to understand this cosmos to that level. It is not possible for us to understand the entire cosmology that is going on. There is a beautiful book which Vedic Cosmology, which the Vada farm devotees have put forward. A very beautiful book, and I was reading that yesterday, and it explains how there is a sutra going on. In the first introduction itself, they have mentioned how there is a chain going on from 2nd canto to 3rd canto to 4th and 5th canto. Very limited in 4th canto is more about the pastimes, but again 2nd canto, 3rd canto and 5th canto are all linked. How there is a flow, because in 2nd canto what we hear about creation is at the beginning of life of Brahma. In the 3rd canto what we are hearing is the beginning of Kalpa, the day of Brahma. And then in the 5th canto what we are hearing is the complete synopsis of the entire stuff, entire creation, what is going on. So again, when we come to the 3rd canto, 5th chapter, so 2nd canto we heard about Parikshit Maharaj and Sukdev Goswami asking questions which are about creation. Then we heard about Narada Muni and Brahma, where Narada Muni is asking the similar question. And again in the 3rd canto, 5th chapter, Vidura is asking Maitreya Muni exactly same questions about the creation part, about the Lord's potency. So now these are not ordinary devotees that we are speaking of. They all are so perfect that they could easily just hear about Lord's internal, they are personal associates of the Lord, so they can just hear about Lord's internal pastimes and perfect their lives, but they are not asking the internal pastimes, they are asking about the creation, which is, again, if we understand and read the purports of Srila Prabhupada, we understand that these pastimes are none different than the Lord's internal pastimes. So in that Vidura Maitreya Samvad, there is chapter 11th chapter, which is calculation of the time, where Maitreya Muni is explaining all these distances and durations based on time element, right, starting from Paramanu, atom. At the end of this chapter, Maitreya Muni is explaining 2 nice points. He's saying that the entire life of Brahma is only a nimesha. Nimesha means fraction of a second for the Lord. So the entire life of Brahma is just the blink of an eye for the Lord. And so what is the life of Brahma? We know, right? 311 trillion, 40 billion years. And that is just a nimesha for the Lord. And second point Maitreya Muni mentions is the universe with 500 million yojanas, 4 billion miles diameter. It looks like a small, it looks as small as a paramanu. Paramanu means atom. Atom, when it comes out of the bodily pores of Mahavishnu. So the whole universe is just like an atom, in which is like COVID we cannot see, right? It's like for Lord it is something which is invisible, insignificant. It comes out from the pores of Mahavishnu. That 44 billion miles of universe is just like that atom, paramanu. So just those two verses, if we analyze, we can understand what is our position. There is an interesting, if anyone knows, along Beaconsfield Parade, they have made the planetary system right from Port Melbourne to Brighton. And so the sun is, they have made, and the dimensions of meters is in million miles. So they have made to the dimension with the distance. So sun is in Brighton just as soon as we pass St. Kilda Beach. So there is sun, they have made the globe, which is like 1.4 meters. So it's like 14 million miles. So that dimension, and along the way, depending on the distance from the sun, they have made it into meters. So if you go from Brighton to Port Melbourne, you can see the entire our solar system, like 9 planets. Mercury, Venus, Earth, Mars, and the distancing is according to actual distancing. And when you look at Earth, at least Jupiter, Saturn, you can see something. It is like this compared to 1.4 meters, which is Sun. They have made this dimension. So Earth is just like 0.5 mm. And this is like on the top of the stone. They have made a pillar, and then there is Earth. And Pluto and Neptune are like just dots, like 1 mm kind of. So this is how this planetary position is. And when you go through the entire one, you can understand that Earth is that much in which, what to speak of countries or anything, and we are trying to look ourselves. So what we have created. So this is interesting to analyze when you look at something like this, and when you read Śrīmad Bhāgavatam about million yojanas and how the sun is moving around the different planetary positions, and when we look at the models that they are planning to make in Mayapur, the videos of that, our position is very insignificant. And this is one thing, anyone who studies Śrīmad Bhāgavatam or anyone who looks at this kind of models, if he has got a little bit of sense, he could understand that this is where we stand. It's humiliating, actually. And we think we have created something very significant. So again, coming to just doing a recap of where we are at. In the 3rd canto, 12th chapter, we hear 11th chapter is Sarga, creation, and 12th chapter is Visarga, where Lord Brahma is first creating 5 kinds of ignorances. We won't go into the details of that, but he's creating 5 kinds of ignorances: Tama, Moha, Maha, Moha, Tamishram, Anda Tamishram. And then he's creating 4 Kumaras, because the task of Lord Brahma is to populate this universe. So he's creating 4 Kumaras who refuse to follow his order. And then Rudra, he gets angry at the 4 Kumaras, and Rudra is born. Lord Shiva is born, and then he gives him 11 positions, wives, and 11 names. And then 10 sages are born, who again are the sages, and they are not propagating the universe to that extent. And then Vak is born, whom Lord Brahma himself becomes bewildered. And then Lord Brahma, it is mentioned, he accepts another body to get rid of that impurity. So he accepts another body, and then he creates 4 Vedas, Upavedas, Puranas, literature, 5th Veda. Then he creates Karma Tantrams, and then he creates 4 legs of Dharma, Ashrama, Vrittis, art, science, Vedic meters, writings, and finally he comes to creating Swayambhu Manu and Satyarupa. Is meditating. This population is still not getting created. So Swayambhu Manu and Satyarupa are born. And then we hear in this canto, which starts with Maharaj Priyavrata's pastime, who is the son of Swambhu Manu and Satyarupa. So Swambhu Manu and Satyarupa gave birth to 3 daughters and 2 sons. We already heard this. Uttanapad and Priyavrata Maharaj, and 3 daughters, Arkuti Devati and Prastuti. And 4th canto is more about Uttanapad's dynasty, and 5th canto begins with Maharaj Priyavrata, who divides the entire, and we heard how he goes around the sun and divides the entire Bhumandala into 7 dvipas and 7 oceanas, and each of this dvipa we heard in detail about Jambu Dvipa, which is again divided into 9 varshas. So when we hear all these things, and now we are hearing about after hearing in this detail about Bhumandala, Jambu Dvipa, and we are now hearing about the movements of the sun, we understand that it is impossible for any material means to go onto the sun planet, and this is accepted by, and I was reading, and each of those planets which are been made, this model which is made, each of the planets have got the description of what they are. And when you hear those descriptions that the scientists have made, they are saying that it is not possible, because it is possible to live on the sun planet or go even closer to the sun planet. Why? Because it has got only helium and hydrogen, and it is full of gases, and it has got pores from where all this volcano or lava is just coming. The gases are erupting and there is fire. But we know from the past times, and from our scriptures, and also from the book Srila Prabhupada has written, Easy Journey to Other Planets, he mentions that you just need a suitable body. And Prabhupada mentions in this purports as well, that these planets are not inhabitable planets. There are living entities who are living. It's just they have got the suitable body to be on those planets. And further down in this chapter, it is mentioned there are 60,000 sages who reside on this planet. It's not like that sun god is just running around alone. It just happens by the will of the Lord. At the same time, there are residents who are living on this planet. There is an interesting pastime about Hanumanji, who looks at the sun and he goes and runs to eat the sun. He thinks this is a mango, nice mango. Let me go and eat this mango. And he just goes he just travels at the speed of, he's the son of Vayudev. He has got this potency. So he just travels towards sun and tries to eat this mango. And when sun god sees this person is coming right in front of him, imagine a small boy who is just traveling towards sun and opening his mouth bigger than how many yojanas was that? Bigger than the sun himself. Sun god became scared, and it is mentioned he called for Indradev, like, what is happening? You are the head of demigods, please protect me. So Indradev throws his vajra, and Hanumanji is unconscious. He falls down. So at that point, Vayudev stops all the air because he's the son of Vayudev. So Vayudev becomes angry at Indra, and he stops the air of the entire universe. When the entire universe air was stopped, all the demigods became worried, like, how will it work? So everyone came down where Hanumanji and Vayudev was, and Lord Brahma himself said, like, I bless Hanumanji, that he will live for the life as much as I have got. And different demigods give different benedictions. Indradev said, like, none of his body will become like Vajra. Because my Vajra has created this, his whole body will become like Vajra. Agnidev said, no fire can burn Hanumanji. Varun Dev said, no water will never have any effect on Hanumanji. So like different demigods give different benedictions. So as it is mentioned later on in the pastime, Hanumanji took, when he was old enough for education, they were thinking, Keshri and Anjana, his mother, were thinking, where should Hanumanji go for education? And then Vayudev said, the best university is the Sun University, not Melbourne University, Sun University. So Hanumanji was asked to go and visit Sun God again. And when Hanumanji came to Sun God said, my batch is already full. It is mentioned there were 66 million sages already taking instructions enrolled in that university. And they are already there on the planet. So Sun God said, there is no more space for you for entrance, is already closed. But then Hanumanji said, no, I am happy to travel along with you. I don't need a seat in your university. I am happy to travel along with your planet. But Sun God said, you cannot put your back against me. If you are traveling, you will have to go. So you will have to travel. If you are traveling with me, you have to travel in the opposite direction. You have to look at me always while I am speaking. And like as it is mentioned in this chapter as well, Arun Dev, who is a charioteer of Sun God, even though he is riding the chariot, 7 horses which are named after the Gayatri mantras, different mantras. So even though he is riding chariot, his faces towards the Sun God. He never looks at the horses. So this is how everyone on the Sun planet is. Everyone is facing towards the Sun. And so Hanumanji said, no, I will look at you and I will run backwards, and still I will go at the same speed. So we have got 2 examples here. Priyavrata Maharaj, who went around on the opposite side of Sun, and he was as brilliant as the Sun, and same as Hanumanji also, traveling along with the Sun. Not only traveling, but hearing each and every word Sun God is mentioning and taking it. And he was not allowed to ask, because he was just an outside student. He was not allowed to ask any question. So Hanumanji said, no, I won't ask you any questions. So that is the quality of a personality like Hanumanji. So the point I'm trying to make here is, it is possible to go on to Sun planet. You just need, this is one of the siddhis that many of the rishis and many of the personalities can acquire. If they got the suitable body, they can travel to Sun planet, like Hanumanji did. And as it is explained, the Sun planet is, there are people living, there are personalities living on the Sun planet. It is not like what we see here. What the scientists are saying, that it is not possible to live on these planets. So I'll stop here. If there are any questions or comments or corrections, please. There's another interesting point while I was doing some reading yesterday. We have got 2 models, right? Heliocentric and geocentric. So it was mentioned in that article that this was from one of the scientists' journals. It was mentioned that 2000 years before, geocentric was prominent, because they had no clue about, both these models were. So geocentric is where the Earth is stationary and all the planets, including the Sun, are rotating around the Earth planet. So that is geocentric. And heliocentric is where Sun is the center and all the other planets are moving around. So 2000 years in BC, it was geocentric model was prominent, because it was understood, and most probably it might have come from Śrīmad Bhāgavatam. So that model was prominent. But since Newton and Galileo came up with this theory, Newton's theory of action and reaction and Galileo's gravitational force, it was easy for them to put heliocentric model and say that there is attraction of each and every, there is a gravitational force of each and every planet. Similarly, there is a gravitational force of the Sun which allows all the planets to rotate. So it was easy for their assumptions to put all the jigsaw puzzles, and easy to prove all the other theories based on heliocentric model. So then they came up with this, geocentric is not true, it is only the heliocentric model. But again, it is in 1905 to 1915, Einstein came up with the theory of relativity, which was based again on Minkowski's theory of space-time model, where it says in space it really doesn't matter. In space it really doesn't matter whether one thing is stationary and the other is moving, or the other is stationary and the first one. So both the models can be held truth. So Einstein proved that based on his relativity theory and space-time theory, both the models are true, because in space it really doesn't matter. So that was Einstein's, and that is what many of the scientists now are confused about. Even though at schools we are still taught about the geocentric model, but really both the theories as per Einstein are true. So as I was mentioning, they have created this new telescope, James Webb Space Telescope, and spent already $20 billion on it, just to see more that we are not. And they are saying that we will be able to, the life of the sun they are predicting is 4 billion years. And it will still live for another 4 to 5 billion years. And then it will get, because the gases will get over and there will be another big bang and whatever, and it will finish off. So that's what their prediction is. But again, what we hear from Śrīmad Bhāgavatam is, as long as there is Lord Brahma, and then there is day and night of Brahma, so these things happen. How the sun becomes dark, and again by the next day morning, again the sun appears. So this has all been illuminated by the potency of the Lord, Garbhodaksha Vishnu's potency. So it's interesting to understand how there is a correlation even between what scientists are proving and seeing, but it's only like they don't have the full picture. What they are saying is just half truth. So if they can accept, or one day this telescope might be able to see things what Bhagavatam has been already saying, and they might have some kind of research. Actually, there is a whole team of scientists who are doing research on Śrīmad Bhāgavatam as well, who are looking into, because this Śrīmad Bhāgavatam gives us more and more details which these people don't even have clue of. So that is why they are looking into Śrīmad Bhāgavatam as well, trying to see if they can find the missing link, what they don't know. So yeah, let's see. It'll be interesting. They're predicting that this James Webb Space Telescope, they're going to put in space in this December. Hopefully it does work after spending that much of amount. Yeah, so they're still working out if it'll be suitable to be in space like the Hubble telescope is. And they don't know what it is. But yeah, $20 billion are already spent. Wow. Okay, sorry. Any questions, comments, corrections? Okay, we'll stop here then. Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Granth Rahaj Śrīmad Bhāgavatam ki jai.